Hello and welcome to another episode of Road and Race. In this video, I just want to share some of the tips and tricks I use when buying a used car. I've tried to keep it not obvious, kind of stuff that may be a bit more obscure. I know it's probably loads of videos out there that cover how to buy a used car. So this is kind of my more kind of interesting suggestions. I would say one of the most important things I do, especially if you're looking for a more expensive car or a kind of niche car, is to find a forum that talks about these cars. There's always a for sale section in there. And you know that these cars have been looked after, they've been loved, the owners kind of know what they're doing. And if you speak to the owner, they'll be probably quite knowledgeable about the car and be able to give you a good understanding of what kind of state it's in. If you live in the UK, then we have something called the MOT, which is basically a road worthiness check, which has to happen every year. But recently they started publishing the results of these checks online. So if you know the registration plate of the car you're thinking of buying, you can pop it into the MOT checker website and it will tell you the entire history of the car. Things like, whether the tyres have been worn out, bushings are worn, brake line, rust, all kinds of issues that have caused the car to either not be roadworthy and fail the MOT, or an advisory, which is stuff that won't fail the MOT, but things that should be aware of. Now, it's not a comprehensive check of the car's health, but it gives you an idea of the type of ownership it's had. If every year there's stuff coming up on the advisories or things that are failing, you know that the owner probably isn't taking the best care of the car. But if it's clean every year and it's always like straight past, then you've got an idea that it's probably been quite well looked after. My next tip would be to do your research on the car you're thinking of buying. Every car potentially will have known issues. So the M3, the E92 M3 I bought had the rod bearing issue, which is potentially engine failing, catastrophic. That's not really a sentence, is it? Anyway, this box I've just bought, known issues with the IMS, rear main seal. So have a look at the car again, go onto the forums, check it out. There will be known issues, and then at least then you're aware of if the owner hasn't repaired that, then it's something you have to pay for in the future. And it's also potentially a bargaining tool when you buy the car if it hasn't been done. Whilst we're talking about doing your research, I always find it's a good idea to have a look at the spec of the car. Now, it's very confusing because, some manufacturers like Mazda will only sell you a car in one or two specs, and that's it. You can have the car like this, or this, that's it. Whilst BMW on the flip side and Porsche will sell you a base model and then lots of options. So every car is potentially different. So, you want to know what you're buying. If you just want like a Boxster, you could buy two different ones, being completely different, even though they're just Boxsters. So one way of doing this is to download like a sales catalogue that they produce when they were made. You can get those, or go on to the manufacturer's press website. They can usually download press packs, which again tell you all about the specs and what the cars come with and without, and give you a big breakdown of all the options. Now, another cheeky little trick that I got off a fellow YouTuber, Petrolped, thank you very much, is the Auto Trader website checker plugin for your browser. Now, if you buy cars on Auto Trader, and why wouldn't you? It's a great resource, and that's where I found this car. There is a downloadable plugin for Firefox, probably Chrome, I don't know about Edge, or Safari, but probably. It's called AT Checker. And what it does is it will tell you the price history of a car. So you can look back and see when the car was first advertised for sale and when they reduced the price. So if we take this Porsche Taycan here, not because I'm looking for Taycans, I'd love a Taycan. But anyway, moving on. This car has been on sale for 2 months and they reduced the price by 10% in 2 months. Clearly it's not selling, and that could be another tool in your arsenal when negotiating the price. When you found a car you think you want to buy, I would suggest always ringing the buyer. Nowadays you've got the option of texting or whatever the person. For me, if somebody texts me about the car, I don't really think they're serious. If somebody rings me and has a chat with me, then yeah, I know these guys are keen. They want to have a look at the car. They're serious about this car. And also, if you ring the person, then you can have a quick chat with them, you get a feel for them, you know, you can suss out what kind of owner they are. And again, you can ask them questions about the car, see if they know about the car. You know, if they can reel off a whole list of things that they've had serviced and changed and stuff, then you know they've been passionate about the car and looked after it. If they're just saying, yeah, it's a car, innit? You know, they're probably not taking the best care of it. You know, clearly this is all subjective. You know, if you're buying like a very, very cheap old car, fair enough. But if you're buying a high-end or expensive prestige car, then you want to know that the person's taking care of it. Also, a cheeky little tip is when you have, you know, talked to the seller and got their address, so you can go around and have a look at the car. You can go onto Google Maps and go on Street View and check out their road and their street and their house. And, you know, if they live in a nice road or a nice house, then, you know, they've probably got the money to look after the car, and they probably have. If they're living in a less desirable area, so to speak, and it's a bit run down, you know, maybe they've not had the disposable income to give the car its best kind of care. Also, whilst I have the seller on the phone, and another reason why I should ring them is I asked them just to take a quick picture of the service history and email it or send it over to me, so I can go through it in detail and kind of work out whether it's actually met its service history or not, and what's been done, what's not been done, and if they have any other paperwork. You know, and a lot of kind of enthusiastic owners will take a picture of the paperwork of things that other things been done, like clutch changes or, you know, any other kind of gearbox oil changes, you know, whatever, you know, could potentially be done to the car. Now, you may be tempted by cheap cars that have done hundreds of thousands of miles, but just be warned that isn't necessarily a good idea. If you watch my high mileage BMW 5 Series video, I bought that car with 120,000 miles on it, and whilst I've done all the work myself and saved a fair bit of money, for the average person who'd be taking that car to a dealer or you know, a specialist, the cost of repairs would probably end up costing you more than if you just bought a newer, lower mileage car. So something to be aware of there. And the final thing I would say is be patient. Don't rush into it. You know, if you're looking for a specific type of car, you know, specific car color, interior color, options, that kind of stuff, just wait. And, you know, you can put like alerts on Auto Trade or other car websites like Piston Heads, and they'll send you emails when that type of car becomes available. You know, I've rushed into buying cars and I've not quite got the one I wanted in the past. And it's been nearly there, but maybe the interior was the color I didn't really want, or didn't have one option I wanted. And I wish, if I wasn't in such a hurry, I could have got the perfect car. So that's what I would say. And also, don't be afraid to travel. You know, if it's 100 miles away, but it's the right car, then, you know, maybe it's worth getting on the train and popping down and buying it. Finally, I've not talked about, you know, when you're actually viewing the car and how to check its state and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I do have a separate video on that, which will take you through all the basic checks you need to do when buying a car. And I'll put a link in the description for that. As usual, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments or any other cheeky tips you think I should know when buying a used car, leave it in the comments. And as usual, thanks for watching.